Hey, morning, guys. How you doing? All right. What brought you to this today? Just shout it out. I want this to be slightly interactive.
We want to sell online.
You want to sell online?
Yes.
Okay. What's the major issue with selling online right now?
Don't have a way to do it.
Don't have a way to do it. All right. Perfect. Part of my job here today is helping you come up with a way to do it and a process to do it. So we're talking about debunking the myth and the mystery of online sales. What's the myth and the mystery of online sales? Do you guys know what that is? It's going to be different for every one of you. So I want you to think about that question. Bob, you're standing in the back. Can you close the doors? Or can I get the doors closed? I'm going to do an experiment. So, just to prove a point, this is an exercise. I'll let some of the guys get in the back yet. And while they do that, just a little bit about me. I'm Eric. A lot of you guys have not heard of me, and that's okay. I like that. So, I'm a very introverted person. So, as far as speaking wise, it's not my main gig, but I enjoy talking to you guys because I'm here to help share information. So these are the gold nuggets from my mistakes that I made. So hopefully you guys can learn something from it and take them and use them, apply them in your businesses. So exercise. This is only going to work if it's really quiet in here. And I'm going to ask you three questions, or I'm going to ask you one question, and it's split with what the room is. So on the count of three, I'm going to ask all of you guys to close your eyes, raise your right hand, and take a deep inhale in. Make it audible. Okay? No, hang on a second. On my count. So this is based on a question. You guys got your eyes closed? The question is, how many of you are business owners that have dealers and salespeople under you? On the count of three, raise your right hand, take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Let it out. Keep your eyes closed. On the count of three, how many of you are salespeople and sales managers or dealers that work for a company? 1, 2, 3. Good. You're good to go. Hands down, open your eyes. How many do you think were you able to hear the breath? Is the question that I'm going to ask you guys. Could you hear that? How many do you think there are more of in this room? Owners or dealers? Salespeople? One person got it right. The dealers are more currently. The exercise that I just made you do is all about listening. In a phone conversation and online sales, you have about that amount of time, and you have to listen to hear the type of customer that you have on the phone. Right now, you guys made a split decision based on my appearance when I walked up here. I'm face to face with you. The type of person that you're dealing with, the type of person that's giving the presentation, and whether the information that I'm going to give you is valuable. You have a safety net on online sales in the fact that you don't get to make that opinion of the client. But the downside is you have to listen for every single thing you hear, which tells you what you need to do. That's my exercise. Keep that in the back of your mind as we go through all of this right here. So, a little bit about me, my background. I grew up construction, masonry, flatwork, concrete, commercial steel buildings, and roofing. I have never sold a building in my life before 2015. I was always working. So, just a little bit of background about me. I'm familiar with the construction industry, knew nothing about selling. Started selling sheds in 2015, and that was in person. No system, handwritten paperwork. How many of you guys right now are on handwritten paperwork? Okay, awesome. We've made great strides. I'm impressed. So, I took a break in the process of that. So I sold for a year, and then I started selling for a different company in 2018. It was approximately 90% online. What is the main issue that you run into right now with selling? The difference between walk-in sales and online? Shout it out. Do you know? Can't see the product. Okay. Anything else? That's a major one. Thank you. Okay. There is a mentality shift that's required with this. Here's the switch. The benefits to online sales is the ability to sell from anywhere. Reduced inventory by about 90%, and that's a massive cost savings. You don't have all the inventory, the aging inventory that you're selling. You built the building at an expensive price. Now you have to discount it or you're selling it at a higher price. The mental shift that I had to make was set goals. I can't stress that enough. You have to set a goal. That has to be the top of your priority. The next one, acclimation to the numbers and conversion rates. When you are dealing with people face to face, your conversion rates are higher. When you go into online sales, the biggest thing that I really had to adjust my mental side to was the sheer number of people that I have to talk to make a sale happen. And the amount of times. And what it needs to be like. I can't read body language. Okay, I know the attention span is short, but I got to figure out a way to make it happen. Importance of buy-in from company and the salesperson. These are all really, really important to me. I just had a meeting this morning with the president of the company that started doing online sales. If you cannot support your salesperson and give them the tools to succeed, online will not work for you. Same thing goes for your salespeople. If you do not have a buy-in and you do not trust the company that you're selling for, it's going to be really hard to convey value and build trust to your clients. Fun lessons learned. I could go into stories on what that looks like. And that is honestly customer interaction, the feedback that you get from it. I recently stopped shilling sheds, actually September of last year. And in January, I actually had a customer go to the bother of finding me, tracking me down on social media and saying, "Hey, Eric, I want to buy another shed. I heard you're no longer with the company. What the heck am I going to do? I want to buy from you." We were not friends, but somehow he tracked me down. To me, that means a lot to me. I'm not big on creating social media accounts with all of my customers. I split personal and business very, very much. That's who I am. Okay, but that meant a lot that he was willing to go look me up on social media, send me a message, and say, "Hey, you made an impression on me in online sales, and keep in mind, I never met this customer. I sold him 2 buildings over a 3-year span." He reached out to me. The painful lessons, I think we all know what they are. Like, you lost a sale, you lost a customer, you misunderstood something, the customer didn't end up 100% happy. Thankfully, I haven't had a lot of those. In 3.5 years, the amount of times that I've counted is about 3 that I was not able to make happy on some level, whether it was a company, it wasn't a good fit, or whether I completely whiffed on my job. And frankly, most of the time, I whiffed on my job. So, my lack of a background in sales, I happen to just fall into it. I don't know where you guys are at, if you grew up in construction, if you were building in the back and you finally moved into it. Me, I had a stroke of bad luck when I was doing roofing. I sprained my ankle really bad in sports, couldn't climb a roof, and the next week later, stepped on a screw in the ball of my foot. You know how important it is to use the ball of your feet when you're climbing a roof. I needed something to do, and happened to get into sales. What's an ideal salesperson? I have a list. This is going to appear in different ways, but at the basis, they need to be humble. And I'm going to explain humble in the fact that humbleness is never being so arrogant that you can't listen to the customer and thinking that you have the solution to absolutely everything. Your customer has an opinion as well. That's what I mean by humble. Hungry, driven, I want to set goals, I want to make money. They need to be that. High emotional intelligence and people skills. I cannot stress this enough, especially in online sales. Other tidbits about me. I'm intuitive. This is me. I'm addressing you guys right now. I'm introverted. I already said that. I feel everything. So a lot of times I'll walk into a room. I can feel the energy inside the room. I can have a conversation with you. I can feel what you're saying behind what you're actually saying. It's a curse and a blessing. Trust me. There's times that I really don't want to know what you're thinking, but I get that feeling from you. And I can't explain it, but it's happening. Okay? I'm not pushy. I do not class myself as a salesperson. I learned it's all about listening. I learned that I can bend and sway clients by tones and directing questions, and in that, I make them tell me what they want and they need, not what I want for them. If you learn any skill today, I want you to learn that. And I'll give you some tools a little bit later on to go over what that looks like. What is a salesperson to you guys? And the reason I ask that is because the mental image that clicks into your mind is pushy, hardcore, used car salespeople. And I know that phrase is used all the time. That's what you think immediately when you think salesperson. Everything in life is all about sales. At a baby, you learn sales. You learn to cry when you poop your diaper. You learn all of this stuff, and it's a cry for attention, okay? But you are selling yourself. At the core of everything, this is my philosophy. People buy people, they don't buy the product. The product is a byproduct for them. They buy people. Here's something about you guys. You may find this seminar helpful if you feel like you're behind the curve on online sales, you're newer to sales, excuse my no spacing, you don't think you're a salesperson, and I kind of explain that in the fact that everybody's a salesperson. In life, you're a salesperson, you sell yourself to some level. You know a little about selling sheds online. Your closing rates just aren't where you think they should be. Big deal, because me, I don't care what my closing rate is, it should always be better, okay? You would rather not make all the mistakes yourself. You're interested in systemizing your sales process, and you want to be efficient in sales, and you find yourself being on the defensive in every call. Do any of you guys feel this in online versus in person? Raise your hands. It's okay. Okay? Have you taken it into every step of why you feel defensive? And the biggest thing that I have been able to track it back to in myself is I am not confident either in the product, the delivery of the product, and I'm not confident that I can actually give that to the customer. That's the number one thing. The other thing that I find really on the defensive side is that I'm thinking inside my head, I have to approach this customer differently. It's going off the rails, and it all ties into my conversion rate which is like, why can't I close a sale? That's me. I don't know if that resonates with any of you guys, but I'm just saying that's where I come from. That's what I'm thinking. So when you guys call me right now, I work for the Shed app. The first thing in my head when you guys don't make a sale and you don't sign with me is, what did I do wrong? I have faith in the product right now, and this varies. I have faith in the product that I'm selling right now. However, I find myself defensive because I don't have the system figured out and my closing rate isn't where I think it should be. So I treat all of my customers based on my being defensive, and it comes across in your tone. Every time that you're talking to a customer, when you are not confident in the product, you're not confident in yourself, it comes across in your tone. What you're going to learn? Well, why online sales? Okay, I'm big on that. I think it's really important. I think it is the future. Moving forward, it's actually the present, to be honest with you. I believe that the shed industry is 10 to 12 years behind where it needs to be on this. Okay, so we're playing a catch-up game. Are you ready for online sales? This is company owners. Are you ready? Efficient selling, massive on the sales side, which helps you with your conversion rates. Salesperson burnout, measurement. When I say measurement, that is measurement from the sales side. So you have to be able to track your conversion rates, know what's working, know your messaging, saying this conversation worked, this one didn't, this email worked, this didn't. Switch, pivot immediately to whatever is working and test that all the time. Marketing stories, this is more on what story are you telling your clients as a salesperson about your product and about you as a company. Whether you're as a dealership or whether you're selling for somebody else, maybe you're online sales right now, what story are you telling? All right, why online sales? Lower cost per sale, unlimited marketplace, massive client pool, a buyer convenience, less aging inventory overhead, and a high reward. Okay, so lower cost per sale. I'll get into that just a little bit. Hang on a second. Less time per sale as well is the other thing. How much time on average right now do you spend with a walk-in client? 45 minutes. Okay, that's average. You can sell more online than we ever did on lots at a fraction of the cost. What I mean by that is when you get to the efficient selling, the amount of sales that you can do in a day's time drastically improves over walk-in sales. Physical inventory is always a cost to you, and I know there's a cost analysis, and you're like, well, it's on lot. I can always sell the building. We're going to make money on it at some point. Well, do you make money? Depending on how long it sits. It's aging. It's, you have to touch up paint. It got moved on the lot. All of that stuff. There's things that you have to do. What can I expect? And we'll start getting into some of the details I just touched on before. Cons. You got little to no availability in physical product. So thanks for bringing that up. Price wars and competition. The thing that you need to realize about online sales, and I'm going to insert this. Who is an online sales client? Who's an online client? Explain them to me in a simple word. Fire away. Okay? Gen X? Okay? Everyone? Okay? Yep. What else? Nothing? Do you guys know the MO of that shopper? What makes them tick? Convenience? Speed. I need it now. The thing you need to understand about price wars and competition, your competitor can have an amazing website. However, The trust that's built on the website and how good it looks and how splashy it looks is only as good as your follow-through, your salespeople, and the product itself. I'm going to initially bump onto your website, but because I'm doing all of my shopping online, I'm doing all the research first. You guys can't see that. So when a client contacts me, they want it now. And I mean now. You have a very limited amount of time to get the information that you need to build them a quote, if you're doing it that way, to engage with them, all of that. So a little bit more on that later, but I want you guys to realize that's part of the mental shift. 45 minutes for walk-ins. Can you spend 45 minutes on the phone with somebody?
Unless you sell them.
Okay, so you've got 2 minutes to sell them. How are you going to do it? Here's the other thing. It's hard to convey quality and build trust. You can have great marketing. What happens when your marketing looks better than the product when the customer gets it? You've got no reviews, you've got bad reviews, and they're ultimately not happy. You got a limited time to make an impression. It's built in the client's research phase, but you can destroy it immediately. And you don't even have to pick up the phone to destroy it. In fact, that's a major thing. That's the number one thing. In today's online marketing, when I say online, I'm not meaning that it's the order's coming in and you don't touch it. I'm meaning there's still contact with the customer. I'm going to, at this current time with where the shed industry is at, with the price point, I'm always going to recommend giving you that personal touch to the client. I don't care if it is online, they haven't touched it. Call the customer. It's a personal connection. I stand behind the product. That's what you're conveying. You're building trust. The stats on this, how quickly you need to answer the phone. Within 5 minutes, I'm going to take a step further, and I'm going to say 2 minutes on a phone call. There are other stats coming out right now that mean you have 14 seconds, depending on where your lead is coming from. Okay? I know that's not always possible. As a salesperson, you're in the middle of a conversation. You're building out a quote. You're having a conversation. I understand that. Companies, we need to be prepared to answer these phone calls. If that means hiring more people, great. There's also a system workaround that I think can be done in this case. People respect when you call them back. Okay? So if you're in the middle of a phone conversation, you're having a chat with Joe Smith, and he's long-winded and it's driving you crazy, okay, because it all happens, and the phone's ringing off the hook. Call them back. I don't care if they left a message. Pick up the phone, call them back, say, man, I'm sorry, I missed the call. I was with the client. Clients are really important to me. I apologize, but I'm here. What can I help you with? Okay? You may miss them, but leave that message and say the exact same thing. It builds trust with your client. And if you want to do it text, great. Do it that way. You have to give the correct info fast. Today's attention span, it's approximately 8.25 seconds for videos. Speaking is 20 minutes. So I'm at 9:25. Half of you guys checked out. You know, I started at 9:03. At 9:25, you guys are checking out. Hopefully that's not the case in this room. Makes me feel better. But that's the attention span you have to get that. It starts at a lower closing rate. However, you can work that up pretty quickly. So when you get into online, you're going to see if you're going directly from walk-in sales, your closing rate is going to go down. The amount of contacts that you make, all of that information, you need to keep track of so that you can track and measure. But you're going to see that closing rate go down. For me, walking from in-person sales to online sales, I saw about a 40% decrease in the first year. The amount of stuff that I had to do to make a sale happen. Okay? Quicker burnout. for the salespeople. You are going to burn out at the amount of contacts. I'll give you a little bit of something while I run through this. The last year that I was doing sales, I was doing 10 to 12 new leads a day, 20 to 30 follow-ups, and making 5 to 6, well, it varied on the day. Obviously, you know what sales is like. But the average was between 3 to 4 buildings a day. The best day I had was 12 buildings in a day. Those number of conversations is hard to keep on top of, keep your focus, and say, okay, I need a breather. Like, you have to refresh yourself, okay? Pros. Lower cost of sale, 9 to 10% online versus 12 to 14% traditional cost, which means that your online sales guys can now make 3 to 4% more. That's a joke. Most of you guys don't agree with that, but it is hard work, okay? But just know, these are some of the facts. It may be different for your company. If you've had any experience in this, this is based off of a friend of mine that went from in-person to online sales. 9 to 10% online, 12 to 14% traditional lots. Lower cost of expansion. When you replicate something that is working, you can always grow it and scale it. Distributed sales team, access to bigger talent pool. You can go remote if you'd like, okay? So they can be working out of state. I have my own opinions about that. We won't get into it, but it can be done. More control of messaging marketing. This is a massive one. How many of you get tired of your dealers saying something that you don't want them to say? When you're in person, you can have a manager that's in person hearing that information, receiving it, making a change immediately. More team focus. Goes back to the dealership. I don't like dealers. I'm going to split half the room by saying that. I don't like them. Some of them can be great. It's worked in the past. The reason I don't like it is I own the lot. Anybody that walks onto my lot is my sale. In online, it doesn't so much work that way because your client pool is so massive and expands all of your dealer lots. It's really hard to focus, and you limit your market spend and all of your marketing if you're only going to say your online sales people can sell in the middle of this. Work a system out that your online guys and your dealership guys know that if this is relayed, this information, we're splitting a commission. I don't care how you work it out. Do what you have to do. That's your company decision. That's what I'm going to recommend. Build a team. Enhanced expedited feedback and support. Touched on that just a bit ago. Very scalable. Scalable I touched on just a bit ago as well, and that scalable means when I do something right, I'm going to replicate it, and I'm going to replicate it. I know that the salesperson can do 1.2 in sales. I know they can do 3 million in sales. You can replicate the process to make it happen over and over, and you can scale your business from the sales end. Less time spent with the customer equals more sales. Customer spends less of your time. They research on their own. They're not wasting your time while they're on the lot. It comes at a price, though. You got to be quick with information. You got to be dead on. Higher reward. Higher reward is based on the salesman's perspective because less time spent equals more sales equals more money in my pocket. Being selfish. But all of us think that. Okay? More clients. Just factors into the high reward. Is your company really ready to pivot and invest online? Here's the questions you need to spend time on, figure it out. Questions you need to ask. Are you ready to spend money on marketing instead of physical inventory? How important is image to you? Are you willing to deliver a product as good as your pictures in marketing? Are you willing to stand behind that? Okay? How much are you willing to spend to market and advertise? I can't answer that question for you. You go talk to a marketing guy. I can't answer that. Are you willing to invest time and money in offering sales training? Do you trust the salespeople that sell for you? That's the biggest thing. in regards to this. Are you setting realistic expectations for your sales team? What can they do? What's scalable? And what can my company back up? Testing, more testing, split testing, more testing, test, test, test. Can't stress that enough. Online sales change so quickly that you need to change immediately. There's things that work today. Some of the stuff that I tell you right now worked for me a year and a half ago. I'm not going to guarantee it works for you. It's changed. You guys need to recognize that, be willing to pivot. Questions for the salesperson. Why aren't people buying? I can't answer that for you. I have an idea. I can't answer it for you specifically until I get to know you personally, know what you're doing, okay? But you need to ask that question. Why is one customer easy to sell to and the next impossible? How do I best show my product? Are you asking the right questions? Are you even listening? Is your message right? What's the best method to contact? Phone, email, text, and other. In my experience, phone and email has been the best. Text works great. In my experience, I don't like business emails coming to me personally on my phone. It invades my time spent with family and friends. That's my opinion. You may like it, great. If they're asking for something specific to move forward with a sale, I'll use text a lot, okay? But follow-ups, I don't do text with. Personal opinion. How many times do you contact and when do I contact? I'll get into that just a little bit later in one of the next slides. Do I trust the company I sell for? It's a question you have to ask as a salesperson. And if you don't, either have a conversation, figure it out, or move on. The best thing I'm going to do, you're doing no service to yourself if you're selling a product you don't believe in. What happens if I lose trust in my company? Applies to the company that I sell for, what I just mentioned. How to be empathetic, especially when I can't sell and I'm behind in my numbers. Sales is about empathy. It's putting yourself in your customer's shoes. Imagine yourself in the worst day of your life, a divorce, a death, whatever it may be, and you're reaching out to a shed company. Put yourself in those shoes and sell that way. If you're happy, it goes the exact same way. This comes back to reading the tones on a phone. The exercise that we did, who's the most in the room? You have to be listening for that. Sometimes it's a catch in the voice. Sometimes it's a softening of the voice. You need to pivot. Efficient selling principles. If time equals money, how can I cut my time down and still be effective? Well, you got to answer and ask the right questions. What are they? Ask the questions that you need to help client within minutes, 10 to 15 at max. Set expectations, time limits for yourself, for the client immediately. ABT principle, I made this up, so I don't know if it's actually true. Always build trust. No matter what you do as a salesperson, always building trust in the company, yourself, and the product. That is your goal. Oh, my bad. Am I using the right language? Am I trying to contact, calling, texting, emailing often enough? Probably not. Am I doing it too often? They're going to let you know. Trust me. If they don't, they're going to let you know by just saying, see ya, spam, okay? Which is why I don't like using text for follow-ups. People mark spam in emails all the time. If it's important, I'm calling you on the phone. I have a way to get a hold of you. I haven't dropped all of my trust with you. I still have some respect. I'm going to reach out to you now. Do I have enough leads? Salespeople are going to be like, nope, I need more. They're always going to be this. On the flip side, do I have too many leads and what's my ceiling? There's been testing done on this with certain people. Their ceilings are all different. There's a certain amount that you can handle with people, the amount of leads equals an X rate of X amount of closing rate. You can add more leads to that same type, and their closing rate goes down. So figure out what your leads, how many leads you need, and what your ceiling is, and be realistic for it. How skilled are you at reading people and tones? Here's some of the most important things that I have learned. You got to base your questions on what you hear on the phone. Never follow a script so close that you can't pivot immediately. When you hear a tone in somebody's voice, when you hear the phrasing, you have to pivot. In online sales, you have to be able to make the distinction of this is the type of person I'm dealing with. You may get it wrong. Adjust your words, and if they go back to something else, you can adjust again. It's not a big issue. Are they short and curt? Do they start by talking about family or life? Don't ever give all the details that make you special or different from your competition in one call unless it's the type of client on the line. You will overwhelm your client. Way too much information. You have an attention span of 8.25 seconds. Can I get the information to you in 8.25 seconds? Yesterday, I don't know if you're here, had a guy walk up to me and say, tell me the difference between your product and the others in 5 minutes. Show it to me. The demo generally takes 45 minutes to 50 minutes to go through the entire process. I whiffed it. Just being honest. And the reason that I whiffed it is because there was 2 questions that they asked I didn't have an immediate answer for. You can overcome that in shed sales by saying, I don't have a question, I'll get back to you right away. And you better sure as hang get back right away. Give them 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I don't care. Depending on the question, sometimes it takes a day. Set a timeline for that. I don't have that answer, but get it back to me. Companies, if your salespeople are reaching out to you, know that they need this quick. It's online. We aren't generally willing to do that as a company. We're like, figure it out. Well, that's not actually the case. They need an answer, and they need it now. Only give details and upsell based on their needs, then stretch it outside the boundaries just a bit. What I mean by that, how many times do you give, okay, we got a short and curt customer on the phone. You pick up the phone, put yourself in the shoes. Hey, I'm whatever from whatever company. First thing you hear is, I need a shed. How do you respond to that customer?
Great, you came to the wrong place.
Okay. What do you got? Exactly. You got another guy that walks in and says, hey, partner, I'm looking for a shade. What you got? How do you respond to that guy? Come on in. Yeah, come on. And I'm not saying that you have to use an accent to replicate them, okay? But come on in. What did you just learn about that customer?
You're looking for a shed.
What else? He's not in a hurry. How do you connect with that customer?
Matches his tone of speech or his.
Ask him about his family. Match his tone of speech. Slow yourself down. These short and curt guys, if you did that, you lost them immediately. Okay? Don't give all the details. Ask them the questions of what they're looking for and apply the details that apply to them. That's it. Then you can upsell them based on certain questions that you ask them on that. Never ever badmouth your competition even if you hate them. Okay? Backstory on me, the walk-in sales company that I sold for was right across the street from the online sales company. The situation ended badly for me at the first place. And you have people walk in and say, man, those guys across the street, they sell a great product. They're a great company, right? What are you going to tell them?
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Let me show you what we have.
Exactly. Now, when they get specific and say, hey, Joe across the street. I'm going to pick on you because you're sitting in the front row. Joe across the street. He's a great guy, isn't he?
Sure.
I don't believe you. Okay? That's tonnage. That's also body language. You're like, sure. You don't agree with them, but you said so. Your customer picks up on that. You can instill a question in your potential client's mind about them, though. Here's how I sold buildings across the street. We offered basically the same building, the difference being in the floor system. The quality was better, though. And I sold people on the fact. I would walk around, and if I knew that they were going to go next door, if they did walk into my lot, I did online sales, okay? But if they did walk into my lot and they were peering at my sheds, the competition's right across the street, you know they're going there at some point, or if they maybe came from there. I would sell them on the fact that the nail holes on my sheds were caulked and painted. That's it. The only difference. We were $900 to $1,200 more expensive than the guys across the street for almost the identical product. Okay? So think about that. Find something that's important to that customer, point it out to them, sell them on that fact. It's going to stick in their mind when they go next door. And often the conversations that were had when they came back to me were like, man, we walked over there, they got a great shed, but there's just something I like about your shed better. What? Tell me. And they couldn't tell me. There are intangibles that you buy as a client. Think about it for yourself. You buy certain things, and this goes back to the people. And there's also certain types of people that walked in that I knew I wasn't a good fit. I could sell them something, but the company also wasn't a good fit. And if they started questioning some of the things that made us a good fit for the majority of our clients, I told them to go check the next place out. If I, as a salesperson, can't make the customer happy, and I know that the company may have a problem with this customer, why am I selling to them? Yeah, you lost a sale, but was he a happy sale? Think about it. I'm not saying turn them loose to your competition, not at all. That's not me. I hated when I lost it to the next guy. But in certain cases, I knew that there was a type of people that the guys across the street sold better to. If ultimately, I want you to be happy as a salesperson. Keep in mind that people qualified leads are on their own time frame. You can direct this, but the only thing you can control is you and your follow-through and mindset. Here's an excerpt from Verbal Judo. If you guys have ever heard of it, I'd recommend, if you haven't heard of it, I'd recommend you reading it. Elements of communication in person. Truth and content, which is your product that you're selling, the verbiage is 7 to 10%. Voice is 33 to 40. Other nonverbal, which is your body language, is 50 to 60. Elements of communication on the phone, truth and content remains at 7 to 10%, and your voice is 90 to 93%. The tone of voice that you use. So in summary, the truth and content versus the voice and body language, truth and content is almost irrelevant. When you're on the phone, when you're doing online sales, you can't see the person, you can't interact with them. But if you get it wrong, you destroy all credibility that you've built. If your product, if your information, if your sales process does not align, you destroyed everything that your truth and content has ever said by your voice and body, by your voice and tone. So that factors into get it right or your history, and on the phone, the most important thing is tone. Efficient selling, lead qualification. Here's some really important things. CRM. I don't know how many of you guys are using it. If you're not using one, get one. I hated it when we put it in place in the company. However, it allowed me to go from 5 to 6 leads a day in follow-up to 20 to 30. Okay? I also saw my closing rates go up because I was following up consistently. I knew what I'd sent before. Online quoting and processes. Get yourself a system. I'm going to put a plug in. I sell for the Shed app, okay? I think it's the best system out there. My opinion. Your opinion is what matters in that, okay? Get a process that allows your salespeople to run an order through the whole way from order to completion, or gives you the process to run it through the entire way. Maybe you don't use it right away, you're not that big of a company, or as a salesperson, this may not be an option, but you can at least have a conversation with your company that you're selling for. Can we do this? But it allows you to go the whole way through to delivery, to the delivery side of it, with all of those notes kept in one spot. I'm going to recommend that. How much time should I spend with the client? Well, ultimately that depends on the client, but I'm going to say 5 to 15 minutes. Online sales, from point of sale, from our point of contact to the time that you close, I shot for 15 minutes spent. What's my closing rate? So you need to know what your closing rate is when you're selling a shed, and it's going to vary lead to lead. That helps with lead clarification and knowing what your time management is, how quickly you need to respond to each lead, okay? What your question should be if you're asking. Methods of communication with the client, which goes back to email, text, phone. Here's the thing. This varies from the area that you're in. You need to figure it out. For me, I live in Colorado. I live along a corridor, loves east and west, north and south. They're fairly techy, okay? There are certain things that they did that I found that they did not communicate well with. I say that text and email may work great. Phone and email may work great. In your area, it may be text. So use it. Figure out what's important to you. Figure out what works in your area and use that. What's a good conversion rate? Industry average is 10 to 20%. Here's your qualifying questions. My 7 that have really helped me understand the amount of time frame that I need to do this in, get the answers that I need, and set up everything for follow-up and how I need to follow up with that particular client so that I don't waste time. What can I help you with today? I say that in a caring tone. What are you using this building for? It's authority. It's a question, but it's still authoritative. How important are looks to you versus usability? Inquisitive. I really want to know. How quickly do you need this? And I asked this in the first. Usually, and some of these vary depending on the amount that I, like, so if the guy's really short and curt, I need a shed. Okay, great, I can help you. How quick do you need it? How important is price to you? What'd you hear in my voice? Right. So I just asked how important price is to them, but I took the weight off of it. It's light inquisitive. I joke about it a little bit. You know the answer to that is really important to everybody. You know that ultimately. But what I'm asking sets me up for what I'm going to sell them. Are you wanting to purchase the building outright, or you want to finance? Caring, authoritative, I know what I'm talking about, but I care about you. I want you to make the best decision. Answer with a solution. Here's what I got. I'm going to break this down just a bit. If you answer the phone in this way, hey, I'm Eric with the Shed App. What can I help you with? I need a shed. Great. Well, I already asked, what can I help you with? So depending on the tone of voice they use, I may switch back and forth between how quickly do you need this, or what are you using the building for? Some version of this. So I'm like, what are you using the building for? Well, I'm looking for a potting shed. Okay, well, fantastic. I'd love to help you with that. How important is looks to you versus, being able to store? Like, what's important to you? Do you want it to look really good in your backyard, or is you just looking for something slam bam, and I want something that's greenhouse. I just want to put my plants in there. Okay? How quickly do you need this? Tells me whether I need to push them towards an inventory shed or build a custom quote. How important is price to you? Tells me the building to push them to as a style. And that also ties into how important is looks to you. Are you wanting to purchase outright and finance? It's just, I need to know so that I can build a quote out for you and I know what to send you. Answer with a solution. This answer with a solution is all based on all of these other questions. So if you're short and curt, you need a shed quick, I'm pushing you to inventory, here's what I've got, I'm gonna send you a picture, bam, bam. Like it's very cadenced. It's like, I gotta get this information to you. You get off the phone with them, maybe you can send it while you're on the phone with them, great. I'm not a multitasker, I get off the phone, I take all the information down, I send it to them immediately. That's how I operated. If they say, well, you know, this is what I'm looking for, but looks is really important to me. It pushes me towards a custom design, and I can say, hey, well, here's what I have in stock. You said you want it right now, or I can get you this. I'll build you a quote, I'll get it over to you. And you give it a little bit more leeway as far as the time frame that you have to get them a quote based on how custom that building is. They don't need to know that, but it does set that tone for you. I still get back to them as quick as I can. Based off of that is how I responded, and I sent back emails and follow-ups to each of these customers. If you told me you needed a shed quick, and this is what I have in stock for you, and I need it next week, I wrote them, and I wrote them, and I wrote them till I got the sale. Because you told me the timeline. I know the timeline in my company of what it took to get delivered. Maybe you have a 2-week period, maybe you have a 1-week period, maybe you offer something crazy and say, well, anything in stock is 2-day delivery. Great. Love it as a sales side. But I would set a timeline based off of that and tell them, hey, you told me that you wanted this building next week. I have to have the order in by 3 o'clock today. Well, I don't really, but I gave them that. And you would be surprised at how your defensiveness, when you change this, your defensiveness changes right back to the customer, and the customer calls you back when you set a timeline, and you're like, man, I'm running behind. I'm sorry. Can I give you a call at 4? Well, sure. I can make it happen. Not a problem. I'm here for you. It's all about the customer in that case. And they are now on the defensive to you as a salesperson, as authoritative, but it's all based on their lead times. I didn't set that lead time for them. They did. If they tell me that they want something in the next 6 weeks, great. Our lead time is 4, for sake of example. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to build this quote out. I'm still going to get it to you quick. I want to get it to you within about 5 minutes. And I'm going to follow up with you based off of that. I know that we're 4 weeks out. The customer wants it in 6. They have to buy in a week's time. Whatever it may be, your company may have a processing way of doing things that takes a 2-week time period to process that. I don't know. You need to figure that out. You need to know what it is. But I set those expectations. I would set the timeline for the customer and say, if we want to get it in 6 weeks, here's the timeline you have to order it by. And I would set my follow-ups based on that. You can't be really pushy in that, knowing that you still have to care in your follow-ups. You still have to be like, because life happens. You know, a death in the family happens, their kids go off to college, they're moving. You need to understand that. You need to be willing to adjust it. But just relay the information. The results. My personal results when applied, time spent per client, average 5 to 10 minutes on the first call. Average of total time spent to close, first call to close, is 15 minutes. Closing rate. After lead clarification, 40 to 64%. Direct correlation to how much time, and that is in direct correlation to how much time I spent on the phone. I figured out that if I spent 20 minutes with a customer, I may still close the shed, still make the sale, but it's delayed by 2 or 3 weeks, which allows them more time to go to your competitor, shop around, get a price, lose value. Here's the results before lessons learned. In-person sales, year 1, didn't know anything, 1.1. 6 sales a week, approximately. Online sales, year 1, $1 million. Not great, I wasn't happy with it. I didn't hit the goal that I set for myself. 5 to 7 sales a week. Year 2, 2.4. 9 to 11 sales per year. Per week, I'm sorry. Year 3, January 1st to September 27th, 9 months, 3.4. 3 to 4 sales a day. So, yeah.
Before you go too far, when you said that you spent 20, it was a slide before, but you spent 20 minutes per sale and you saw a correlation to turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Was it, are you saying you spent, the more time you spent per call, was it less sale?
Yeah. The more time that I spent per call gathering information, if I couldn't collect the information, I needed to send them a quote in the first 5 to 10 minutes. In that first phone call, and 15 minutes, you kind of got some leeway there, but anytime that went over 20 minutes, I saw my time to close extend by 2 to 3 weeks. So that means more follow-ups that I had to do, more of everything. If I could get the information necessary and send them a quote within about 15 minutes, then the close rate was 7 to 10 business days. I'm sorry, 7 to 10 days, period.
And why do you think that is?
I lost their attention.
I think it's because they didn't know what they wanted to start with.
There's that too.
Deal with customers and they don't know what they want quotes on 4 buildings,
Mhm.
they never buy,
Yep,
ever.
yep. So you're gonna have some customers like that too. But what did that tell you about that customer that the phone conversation went for 20 minutes?
Right, he's not sure what he wants and he's changing.
So how much time should I spend as a salesperson? I might get the sale, but how much time should I spend as a salesperson focusing on that guy that took me 20 minutes versus the guys that gave me the information in 5?
Not at all, you should prioritize the guys that know exactly what they want.
You prioritize the guys. I'm not going to say that you don't follow up with them. You still want them. There's those people that need a long-term solution. You have to follow up. But what takes precedence are the guys that get you the information. The customer that gives you the information right now. You have to respond that way. These guys just know they're probably going to become a customer somewhere, okay? If you don't follow up right, you're going to lose them. If you do it right and you know, hey, 20 minutes, this guy is going to take me 3 weeks to close, but I need to follow up that way, and I'm not going to send the amount of follow-up. You have to figure out the pertinent information. Okay, burnout, and I'm running out of time. You easily get grumpy with customers. This is what to watch for. You struggle to motivate yourselves. You lose interest in challenging yourself. You lose your attention to detail. You become cynical, negative, unwilling to change. Experience an increasing number of losses. You take off work more than ever. You all know those people. Are chronically fatigued and struggle to remember. You become angry with colleagues and bosses. You become less creative. You quit pursuing professional development. You feel agitated. You don't have fun selling, ultimately. If you do not split your lead clarification and you're spending all of your time as a salesperson on 1% and 2% leads and ones that you know are going to convert in 2 to 3 weeks, but generally 1%, 2% leads, you have them. In a company, you're going to have them. You know a lead comes in, it's just, these guys never answer. If you spend all of your time trying to make that happen, you take all the fun out of selling and your close rates go down. That's been in my experience. Maybe you're different. You can make it work. Great. Give me some tips because I want to know. But that is where I'm at with that. What to do? You take a break and recharge. You don't know what to do, experiment. You'll never know until you try something different. Here's a list of things that I'm going to recommend to you. The top one being get mentorship. Find somebody that's going to help you out, it's going to stretch you, make you grow. In this process, I had a guy come up to me and say, Eric, what's your goals for this year? And I told him. He's like, what's your goals for this month? And I was like, well, I have this goal that I want to be at $400,000 in sales a month. He's like, no relation to my company whatsoever. He's like, Eric, when you hit $400,000 a month, will you tell me? I was like, yeah, I'll tell you. He's like, I'm going to give you something nice. He gave me a $500 gift card because I hit a goal. After I hit that goal, my average sale, my average month was around 360. My best month was 480,000. Once you break that goal, you have somebody that believes in you. It's massively important. Sports, hunting, hobbies, go do what makes you happy. Recharge, whatever it takes. Companies, it's absolutely worth it for your online salespeople to know that you care about them. Be prepared for that burnout and be willing to back them up. And are you willing to pay for a recharge for them? You don't have to do that, but you can. And it means a lot. Coming from somebody that I had support, knowing that they were like, Eric, take the time off if you need it. I didn't because I was driven and I wanted to get the next sale. And I'm like, if I take time off, man, I lost 4 sales. But be willing to do that for your guys. Be willing to take time, invest time in yourself. Measurements. What can be measured can be improved. I'm just going to go over this real quick. CRMs, super important. A software platform helps you keep follow-ups organized and timely, helps you understand what leads are good for you, what's your 1%, what's your 30% closing rates, what's your 50%. You need to keep track of that. You need to relay it back to the company so the company can grow. Can be synced with your ads and forms. Track your conversion and time spent, so we kind of went over that. Track response rates to messages, so you know what's working. You can do this inside your head too if you'd like, but it's a pain in the butt. So that's one more thing. Cultivate low quality leads. So your 1% sales are getting touches. Basically, you create a drip campaign or a sequence that these 1%ers can be touched in with, that you are not spending time as a salesperson, wasting time on each individual one. Time management, all of the above. It's all about time management in online selling. Amount of numbers equals amount of sales. Recommended resources, HubSpot, Salesforce for a CRM. Keep your eyes on the prize. The end goal is more sales. Don't get stuck in one specific thing or old things that worked before. Be ready to pivot, test, move on, which I forgot to remove higher click rates, so my bad. That has nothing to do with this. Marketing, good messaging and a story. Who you are as a company, salesperson, and team is what sets you apart. After all, product is a product and value is perceived by the client. Takes time. When I say it takes time, a lot of times the salespeople, your company may have a story already for your brand, for whatever it is, but your salespeople aren't relaying it properly. It takes time for them to complete their story, tell the customer. Be ready to invest. Don't limit your online sales team. I'll throw a plug in here and I'm out of time. Way past time, actually. So if you guys want to get out of here, go ahead. But don't limit your online salespeople to in-between dealership models. Find a way that works so that the two can cooperate as a team. Recommended resources, story brand. I only recommend this just for setting a story. It's good for salespeople to read as well. It's used as marketing. Verbal judo. I'm going to recommend this book to absolutely anybody in this room as the best thing to learn how to communicate. It's helped me tremendously, and I just picked it up 3 weeks ago. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He has YouTube videos. They're fantastic, 5-10 second clips. They've helped me. All Marketers Are Liars. Another really good book. It's all in marketing, but it tells me as a salesperson, this is how I sold. Everybody views a product. Everybody views life through their lens. You have to figure out what the lens is. We all lie to ourselves on what we need. Pick that one up. Really good book. Invest in good marketing that tells your story, and don't settle in that until your goals align as a company. Here's your books. Eyes on the prize. Always shoot for lessons learned. Constant improvement. You can't control your clients. You can only control you. Thanks to all you guys. Thank you.